Welcome back. Welcome back. I'm so glad you're here. Welcome back to Rethink Weight Loss. It's day 5. I get super excited about this. Can you tell? I have been working for 4 or 5 years on I understand the exact mindsets people have to shift in order to really be ready to do what works. It's really something that's super clear to me. And I've known what these mindsets are for several years. So how to help people get these mindset shifts has been this big preoccupation of mine. So I get excited every time I feel like I'm making progress with this. And I always invite you guys to let me know. Oh, by the way, I have 2 fans going. It's super hot. It's been in the high 90s for weeks and weeks, well, for months, really. And it's getting super oppressive. I'm going to go ahead and get started because I'm trying to do this in a shorter, faster time. Feel free to put questions in the chat, but otherwise, so day 5, the path to a natural reset to Slender. Doesn't that sound good? I don't know if it's making sense to everybody, but I feel like this way of losing weight with truly healthy eating is so much healthier. It's so much more effective. It's so vastly superior to other ways of losing weight that I don't even want people to try other ways. Mostly, I really want to persuade people just do this. Just give truly healthy eating a try. But I first got to convince them they don't know what healthy eating is, right? So then they don't like me and don't want to listen to me. So I'm always trying to figure out, how do I help you know why your idea of healthy eating is not healthy enough, right? So what do you guys think? Are we making those points? So it's the 5th day of the 5-day challenge with Slender Healthy Eating Psychology. And I'm writing my Slender for Good book. Slender for Good over 50, eat more, stress less, and never diet again. Because I feel like a lot more people need to know how this works, and because people have been asking me for a long time for the book, right? The second book I'm going to write is Crave the Good. I'm really walking people through, how do I start to lose the cravings for the non-nutritious food-like substances and really fall in love with the nutritious foods my body needs, because it's a process, but it's not hard, and it's gorgeous, and it changes everything. The third book I'm going to write is We Are the Wise Ones. And I already feel like if you've been willing to spend these 5 days changing your mind, exploring, what do I misunderstand here? And does Ginny have something that she can teach me that could really help me change my results? Like, I'm willing to learn, right? So I just really congratulate you. I think you are the wise ones. You are the ones who are committed to doing better for your life than the average person who's out looking for the pills or whatever. I mean, there's constant chatter out there about how there's magic pills and potions and new approaches every day for weight loss. So to be curious enough and committed to your health enough to come to this program and keep showing up, whether it's live or on the recordings, it just makes you wiser than the average person. It makes me a little emotional. I just really honor that. So I just feel like you really deserve the truth. There is no magic pill out there. We need to realize it's not natural to be overweight or obese, and find a natural way back to being slender. We need to stop searching for the latest weight loss approach and learn how truly healthy eating is different from what we believed is healthy eating. It may not sound sexy, what I'm teaching, but frankly, I'm over that. If I want to live a sexy, luscious, full life, I need to be healthy and well. I need to be independent and making my own choices, not living in a nursing home, needing to be taken care of, not overweight with high blood pressure or high blood sugar, with pain and inflammation, with a weak immune system, right? I was sick so much of the time. That's what goes with the Western diet. So to be able to see, I swim in the Western diet and I try to do a little better. Try to do better than other people. It's really not the path to stay on. It's not leading to good results. You love the title? Thank you, Catherine. So I've been saying this all week. I've been trying to say this like I used to say it only on day 5. Now I say it every single day. What's the answer here? What works for natural weight loss that lasts? I call it truly healthy eating. Once I got super clear how truly healthful, slenderful eating is different, I found it was not hard to do. I fought with it for a while. I don't think that doesn't seem right. I don't think this is right. And then I brought my scientific mind back and thought, why don't I try it? It's what the research says works, and I really value what's proven effective. So once I decided to really try it, I found it simple, it's sensible, it's enjoyable, and it has transformed my ability to thoroughly enjoy my life along with hundreds of other people. So what are the insights we've been getting this week? The only answer to achieving healthy weight loss that lasts is truly healthy eating. We have to get clear what that is and how it's different from what we thought, right? Most of us believed we figured out healthy eating. We know what we like, we study this stuff all the time, but we're mistaken. And I know that's confrontive. I just haven't met anyone yet for whom that isn't true. So it's because it's virtually impossible in these times to figure out what healthy eating is. We're too far away from it. Our eating environment is too far away. I like to call it deranged. And maybe that big word, that kind of provocative word, will stay in your mind when you're trying to choose between eating a piece of fruit and eating a piece of cake. Of course, our brain thinks the cake is better. It's wrong. It believes that because we grew up in this environment and because that is such fast, exciting, dopamine-rich calories that our body and brain think that's good. Yeah, and it isn't, right? It's because we live in a deranged food environment. Most of the food in our environment now, who remembers the statistic? Most is now chip nipples. Cravingful, highly processed, non-nutritious food-like substances. So I've been referring to them as treats. We call them treats. It didn't help me to call them treats. It helps me to call them chip nipples. They're cravingful, yes. They're highly processed. That means they're not good for my body. They're non-nutritious, and they're not even food. They're food-like substances. What do you think? I know that just saying that doesn't make you feel that, but that's what I wanted to move towards. I wanted to change how I thought about those foods. All right, picture of Colleen. The dramatic increases in chronic diseases of aging in recent decades mean that most of us now can expect to decline dramatically in our last 10 years, most of us. That makes me want to cry too. So most of us are going to have diabetes or heart disease or cancer or dementia and spend our last 10 years really sick and needing a lot of support and care. None of us wants that. We've seen it happen, maybe with our parents, our aunts and uncles, maybe people we went to high school with. Maybe it's been starting to happen for us. For me, by the time I was 55, I had pre-diabetes. Well, that turns into diabetes. You know, it progresses. These are all progressive diseases that make us really sick, right? We're very misinformed about what's healthy to eat. And as a society, we have it very wrong. And one of the ways we have it wrong is we're eating way too much chip nipples. And one of the ways we have it wrong is we're not eating nearly enough highly nutritious foods. Have I sold you on this point? What do you guys think? So when we have put together our best do-it-yourself healthy eating approach that we feel pretty good about, it came from this progression of I have my preferences and desires and what I hope is true. I hope this is good enough. I hope this isn't too bad for me. We put that together with growing up in a deranged eating environment, terrible weight loss advice, and we end up with our best DIY healthy eating approach, and it might be better than the average person's. Sorry for the horrible picture. I know none of you look like that. I like to make those kinds of food pictures look kind of horrible so they're not too triggering for us. So this path that we're on is not adding up to good results for us. Some of us have been able to avoid prediabetes and high blood pressure and cancer so far, which is great. But that is sort of the last step in the progression of this disease process, right? If your weight gain has been not that bad, a lot of us, it hasn't been that bad. For me, 60 pounds, it was like by that point I was obese. A lot of the women that I helped, they're not that far off. They're I could really afford to lose 10 pounds or 20 pounds. It doesn't feel like that big a deal. Their weight gain has not been as bad as other people's around them. But what if you could just know exactly how to eat that's healthful and slenderful? What if you could get super clear and confident and just take back all the energy you've spent searching and searching for answers? Like, I know how I eat, I totally understand it, and it works, and it gives me health, and it gets me naturally slender, and I'm not searching anymore. Like, what if you could naturally reset to slender and never worry about your weight again? What could you do with all the time and energy that would be freed up? It's huge, actually. It's one of the first things people in my program start telling me is, I feel so much calmer. I feel so much more centered. I feel like I have so much more time and energy back. Feel so much more light. Like one of my clients was telling me last week, I'm laughing a lot more with my son. I just feel lighter about every aspect of my day. It's not like challenging things don't happen, but I respond to them so differently. I think about Elaine talking about that too, just not being irritable with people like she used to be. Just, things come up during the day and it's just not as hard to deal with them. That's partly how our gut microbiome has changed. We get a lot calmer and a lot more just centered when we're eating the right foods and not eating the wrong foods. It's gorgeous. So it's not going to work to keep straddling the old path, right? And try to step onto the new path, but try to keep the old path. It doesn't ever give you that sense of calm. It never gets easy to do healthy eating, and the results can be very mixed, or you might not really see much in the way of results. So at some point, you need to invest time and energy and effort into a whole new path, this healthful, slenderful eating path. In a minute, I'm going to share how I discovered an eating approach that changed everything. I want to make sure that I let people know again. I've been sharing this week 2 of the 4 key elements that I found in the research that add up predictably and reliably, these guiding principles for how to eat, that really allow us to make seriously wiser choices about how we eat that can change our lives, right? Now, just having heard those 2 principles, I've had many people go away and say, that changed my life. And if you find that, I would love to hear back from you. Tell me, how did you start changing your eating? I remember Rebecca last year, I think she's in the challenge this year. I remember her saying, I went away and I threw out all this stuff in our cupboards and we started eating a lot more real, whole, highly nutritious foods. And it changed how we felt really quickly, like within a week. So I'd love to hear back from you if you go away with these principles and changes your life, right? I do this for free and I hope it really makes a difference for people. I want to make a difference. Now, another reason I offer these free programs is to meet people who are really ready for real change and would be likely to succeed in the Slender for Good program. So what I do in that program, I teach the exact eating plan that works predictably and reliably for sustainable weight loss for women over 50, because most of the approaches out there don't, right? Frankly, almost everything you find in the marketplace is not going to produce predictable and reliable and sustainable weight loss. It's super frustrating. So I want you to know I do teach the whole eating plan in the Slender for Good program. And I know there's a certain amount of people in my audience who are going, just hand me the program, just give it to me. And I did actually do that for about a year. And I found no one benefited from it. And as a psychologist, I can understand why. We've got all the wrong ideas in our head, and we're taking in the pieces we like of this new one, and then we're going to take in more different ones tomorrow, whatever we like, right? And that doesn't add up to results. I'm going to explain the concept of evidence-based practices and how that led me to the Slender for Good, the slender weight eating approach. But I do teach the whole eating plan in a particular sequenced way, right? I know how much misinformation is in the way. So when I say eat lots of fruits and vegetables, there are certain people going, yeah, I juice that stuff every day. That's not what I'm saying, right? So we have to get into the specifics and the details of what works because people have so many assumptions in the way. So I've really also learned to teach very specifically, what are we talking about, very clearly, what are the scientific findings underlying each principle. I illustrate it with stories. I show what it looks like in practice, what I mean and what I don't mean. But also I help clients as the mindsets come up to keep them in the status quo habits, right? That's part of what our primitive brain is going to do. Just, no, that's not a good idea. Don't do that. Do a little of that, but mostly keep doing what you've been doing. I help my clients overcome the mindsets that take us back to our status quo habits like a rubber band. Come back here, right? And then I help them find practical tools to support truly healthy eating. It's not hard, but it's different enough that we have to give it a little attention for a while and figure out how it works in our lives. So if you feel like I'd really like to talk with you about the Slender for Good program, there's the link to book a call, drginny.as.me/slender. And I have just opened up a few more slots for those in the next week. Love to talk to you. All right, so how did I discover this eating approach? So I did study the research, and I've had people come back to me and say, okay, I'm a trained psychologist too. I went and looked at the research. I could not find very clear answers. And I understand why that is too. There is a lot of food industry supported research out there. There's a lot that doesn't serve us very well. So I went to the research from the background of evidence-based practices. So what that means is I knew I had to get very clear, what results am I looking for? So if it's evidence-based, for what results? So I was looking for evidence-based guidelines, key elements for eating, that would add up predictably and reliably to weight loss, to getting to a slender weight, right? It had to add up to reduced risk factors for diabetes, reduced risk for dementia, reduced risk for cancer, reduced risk for high blood pressure and heart disease. So I had this package of things I was looking for, and my training in evidence-based practices means I'm not looking for 100 pieces of advice, 100 things that say this is good for you and that's good for you. You do not want to take that approach. I was looking for, there should be 3, 4, 5 guiding principles that if we follow them, we should get these results predictably and reliably. And I found, yes, absolutely, there were 4 guiding principles, 4 key elements that kept adding up to the same result. There's other things we can do that can make our diet even more healthy, that might make it more individualized to us, etc. But we need to follow those 4 key elements, those 4 fundamental principles. So as I followed these, it started working for me. Right? Okay, the research said this should work, and now it's working. And then once it worked for me all the way, went back to my slender weight, got incredible reversals in my health that I've talked to you guys about, got so much health and energy back, feeling so much better. All these symptoms went away. I quit getting viruses all the time. I got rid of pain and inflammation. I started sleeping better. Like, hello, this is giving me health and it's giving me slender. It's getting me naturally, healthfully slender. Then I started finding other places where people are following these same principles and had the opportunity to observe hundreds of people, including women over 50, eating this way. And so that's when I got really confident. Okay, I know exactly what works. I know exactly how to teach it. I'm going to go teach it to people, not because I ever wanted to be a weight loss coach. Feels a little awkward to me, frankly, to be in this space where there is so much scam, right? There's so much wrong, and it hurts my heart. So anyway, here I am in this space because I don't think it's very easy to find good answers and good guidance. And even if I hand you the answers, people don't know how to go away and do that, right? They need more support. So there's these clear key elements. So let me give you an example of this, because key elements is something I understand really deeply from evaluating intervention programs. If you're going to go replicate an intervention program that works, you have to follow the key elements that are proven to make it work. You can't just go I observed what they were doing and I came away and I think I know exactly what to do. Imagine you see someone who's slender and healthy the way you want to be. And so you go to lunch with them and you watch what they eat at lunch and you glean certain principles like, okay, well, she had this, she had that, she had this, she didn't have that thing that I might have ordered. So I think I got the key principles now. No, it takes more than that to find key principles, the key principles that add up to results over and over and over, right? So it's natural that a human being is going to take that approach of, well, I read this article and I saw that and I know I like this and this felt like it worked for me and I saw that person eating that. And we end up with this do-it-yourself, best guess, healthy eating approach, very piecemeal. And when you study evidence-based practices, you find that doesn't add up to good results in all kinds of areas. And it became clear to me that's not going to add up to good results for us with our eating either. It's one of the reasons we're getting terrible results. We're throwing a whole bunch of ideas together and it doesn't have any coherence. Even if it had coherence, like I think about vegans and vegetarians, they do have a particular coherent approach, but often they're not doing well with their weight, right? They're not actually doing that well with their health. So they have a coherent approach, but it's not an approach that's proven to work for getting slender and healthy. So I find there is a sequence to the eating changes that tends to work best for people. And you kind of heard me talking about it this week. We start with eating more of the highly nutritious foods, a lot more, before we look at what we need to cut out. We add before we subtract. This works better for our body, right? So getting abundant, nutritious food on board gives us the energy and the mental clarity to take on the next steps. It also starts to flip off the fat switch. So we start losing weight. So there's an order to implementing things that really helps both for our body and for our psychology. Hopefully that makes sense. So the recommended actions that I gave you this week to get to a healthy, slender psychology, one is embrace a beginner's mindset. There must be something I don't understand, some nuances I'm missing, maybe some ideas that I have that are absolutely wrong. I know I had at least two big ideas I believed very firmly that were absolutely wrong. So I really had to keep resetting my scientific mind, or you might think of it as your beginner's mindset. Let's assume I don't know what healthy eating is, and let's see how I can find it, right? Where am I going to find it? For me, it was a matter of going to the research and finding key principles that added up to great results over and over and over for thousands and thousands of people, finding it in this kind of research study and that kind of research study over and over and over, right? So get a beginner's mindset, start a food journal. That's because we find we're dishonest with ourselves about what we're eating. We want to see ourselves in a good light. So I don't eat very much of that bad stuff. I don't drink that much wine. I eat a lot of healthy food, or at least it says healthy on the package. There's a lot of ways we fool ourselves, and our environment supports us to fool ourselves. We have to stop weight loss diets if we're going to get this healthy, slender psychology and the results that go with that. Hopefully I sold you on that to a certain degree, although that mindset can hang around. A few more recommended actions toward this psychology. Focus on eating better, not less. This is going to help us help our body to flip off the fat switch, right? We're not going to force the fat off our body. We're going to give our body the nutrition it needs so it doesn't feel it needs to store excess fat. It will flip off the fat switch. That can change our blood pressure. That can change our blood sugar as well as the fat, right? Get wise to the lies of the food industry. Really start to notice them. So much advertising about non-nutritious things being so wholesome and so healthy and having antioxidants and being low fat and have non-GMO and on and on and on and on and on. When I see those packages, I know there's probably lies in there, right? Whole grain, one of the biggest lies. Packages that say whole grain tend to be saying this was a whole grain and then we broke it down. But it was made from whole grain, but it's not whole grain anymore. And you can move toward craving the good foods. It's a little bit of a process, but it's gorgeous. It's gorgeous to lose the cravings for the non-nutritious food-like substances. Like, yeah, that looks sickly sweet to me. I don't want that. And really to crave the good foods. So can you see how you have to step off that other path? This is not a little different. It's pretty different, right? So step onto this gorgeous path. So what's next for you? So you can step onto the path of healthy eating habits and a natural reset to Slender. Hope this was helpful. I'd love to hear from you, what you got from it, what questions you have, etc. We're having some of the conversation in the Facebook group, or you can just email me, drginnyt@gmail.com. And while I'm in here, see if you guys can communicate with me. Hey, Terry, good to see you here. Any questions, any thoughts, any takeaways? I kind of wish I had a Zoom meeting so I could hear your thoughts and takeaways and questions, but you can type them in the chat. Did I make the points clearly? What are you buying? What are you not buying? Doubting? It's hard for me to know, right? I'm so in this every day. This was good information, Terry. Oh, good. Oh, good. Okay. Yay. I feel like it's a little bit confrontive, but I'm going to be confronted about this stuff. Yeah. Thank you, Terry. I'm so glad you guys were here. You know how to reach me, and I'd love to hear back from you. All right. Hope this was helpful. Love you guys. Take care.